Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for the show today. I'm Andre Lacey. Today we're diving into an issue many of us experience twice a year, the end of daylight saving time, the moment when our clocks fall back an hour. We'll talk about what happens to your body, your mood, your sleep, why experts say it matters, and how you can make the adjustment smoother. Whether you're a morning person like me, a night owl, a parent, or a student, this will be useful. So let's get into it. What's going on? Let's start off with what's going on right now. When clocks go back by an hour, technically you gain an extra hour of clock time for many people. But despite the extra hour, it doesn't always feel like a gift. You might ask, why is that? Well, it's because of our internal timekeeper and how it works. Our body, according to research from Harvard Health, has a circadian rhythm, which is an internal clock tied to light and dark and sleep and wake. And hormones like melatonin and serotonin help regulate that rhythm. Now, according to American Academy of Sleep Medicine and other sleep science organizations, the time change, both spring and fall, creates a misalignment between our internal clock and the external environment. In the spring, when we spring forward, you lose an hour of clock time, which has been linked to increased risk of traffic accidents, heart attacks, and more. In the fall, the gain of an hour might sound helpful, but the shift still unsettles your rhythm, and the reduced evening daylight can affect your mood. So on today's show, we'll focus on how to adapt when daylight saving time ends, which of course is the fallback shift, and how it affects your mood and sleep. But many of the tips will apply for both transitions. So how does the time change affect our mood and sleep? Let's unpack exactly what's happening, why you might feel a bit off in the days or week ahead after the change. Let's start off with sleep disruption. Even though you're getting an extra hour on paper, many people don't fully capitalize on it. The shift means your bedtime and wake-up time no longer align perfectly with your body's preferred rhythm. One study from the Sleep Foundation found that after the spring shift, people had more fragmented sleep and took longer to fall asleep. And the fall shift isn't risk-free. Though it is easier, it can still nudge your system. Next up, mood and mental health. The misalignment can affect your mood. Reduced morning light or more evening darkness can reduce serotonin, which helps regulate your mood, and interfere with melatonin timing, which helps you sleep. In a study by Harvard Health, transitions have been linked to higher rates of depressive symptoms and mood disturbance. Next up, other health risk and performance hits. Because your internal clock is off, you may feel groggy, less alert, and have slower reaction times, especially after the spring shift. Some studies from the Northwestern Medicine show higher incidence of heart-related events and accidents. Again, it shows higher incidence of heart-related events and accidents. That's scary to think about. Even for the fall shift, longer evenings of darkness can lead to more fatigue and less activity, which can also impact your mood. So the bottom line is this. This isn't just about losing or gaining an hour. It's about how your body cues shift, and this can include lights, meals, and activities, and that can ripple into your sleep quality, your mood, energy, and focus. Now, let's move on and transition. How do we adjust accordingly, according to expert-approved tips? Interesting. Let's dive into it. Here is the meaty part of this instance. What you can do to make this shift easier for you or anyone you know. I'll walk you through these practical steps recommended by sleep experts and health clinicians. Number 1, gradual schedule adjustment. If possible, begin a few days before the change. Move your bed and wake up time gradually to about maybe 15 to 20 minutes so your body isn't hit by a sudden shift. For example, if you normally go to bed at 10:30 p.m. and wake up at 6:30 a.m., a few nights before you might shift to 10:15 for your sleep time and 6:15 for your wake up time. And then you might shift to 10 p.m. for your sleep time and 6 a.m. for your wake up time, and etc. and etc. Now, let's move on to number 2, morning light exposure. When you wake up, get some bright natural light as soon as you can. And let's face it, most of us wake up in the morning, some of us it doesn't bother us, but for some of us, when you wake up first thing in the morning, that light can be bright and you really don't want to see that, and you rather ball back up under the covers, or if you have blackout curtains or anything, you might try to shield that light off, but it's actually important. This helps reset your circadian rhythm and align it with the new time. You didn't think about that, huh? Even if it's fall or winter and the light is dim, going outside or opening curtains helps. Let's move on to number 3, maintaining consistent routines. Keep your wake up and bedtimes as consistent as possible. And I know that's hard, even on weekends. That's the hardest part. Most of us like to sleep in and we get to do what we really want on the weekends as opposed to weekdays when we're working. But weekends are important too. Let's face it. Fix your meal times, exercise times, and other daily cues as close to usual as possible. Regularity is a big help. Even if you're tired, avoid big naps that throw off your sleep schedule. Then moving on to number 4, optimize your sleep environment and habits. Of course, that's your sleep hygiene. Dimming lights in the evening, avoiding bright screens at least 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime, and let's face it, most of us, unless you keep your phone in another room, have that habit of scrolling right before bedtime, and it's not good. So even I am working on that myself. But it helps you wind down. That 30 to 60 minutes beforehand, it really does help you wind down, so keep that in mind. Avoid heavy meals, caffeine late in the day, and large amount of alcohol. They interfere with you falling asleep and your sleep quality. Create a calm bedroom with comfortable bedding, a cooler temperature if you're like me, and minimal light/noise. Some of us like to sleep with the television on. I won't call out any names, but sleeping with the television on doesn't help. I just had my own doctor tell me that at my own appointment, and I said, I don't do it. So if you sleep with your television on, not to judge you, because we don't judge here on ATP, but it's recommended that you don't do that. Sleep in a quiet environment. Moving on to number 5, be intentional about mood and activity. Because decreased daylight and the shift can change your mood and affect your mood, plan for some outdoor time/light exposure. Keep physical activity regular, even if a short walk in the morning makes a difference. And those short walks do make a difference. Be alert to mood changes, including irritability, fatigue, and difficulty concentrating. These might be signs that your adjustment is lagging. Moving on to number 6, be patient and realistic. Your body may take a few days, and for some people, up to a week, to fully adjust. So don't expect perfection overnight. Also, if you have an existing sleep disorder, mood disorder, or health condition, the time change may affect you more. So extra care is warranted. Talk with your doctor if you need more help. So now let's move on to the next segment and idea. Let's put it all together. This is where it might get a little tricky, but let's try to pay careful attention to what I'm saying. And of course, you can always go back and rewind this if you need to listen to it step by step. Here we go. Before the change, let's say your bedtime is 10:30 and your wake up time is 6:30. Plan a 20-minute walk outside after you wake up. And I know for a lot of people, they're thinking, man, Andre, you are crazy for saying that. Who's going to wake up first thing in the morning and go walk for 20 minutes, especially if you aren't a morning person? And I know it doesn't sound realistic, but these are what medical experts are saying. And even I'm taking notes myself. So it's not just me telling you all what they're saying, but I'm listening to it myself. And I'm the one who's hosting the show. So keep that in mind. Then move your wake up or your bedtime schedule earlier by 15 minutes each day. So for your bedtime, for example, like I just said, let's say you move it to 10:15 or 10 p.m. or 9:45 p.m. You wake up 15 minutes earlier accordingly. Still get your morning sunlight. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. if possible. Dim your lights in the hours before bed and avoid screens like your phone and television. So again, as I just said, if you can turn your television off at night, if you don't really need it, turn it off. And I know it's hard. Again, I know people personally in my own life who keep their television on and they say they need it, but it's recommended that you turn it off. In the day of the change, the clock falls back 1 hour. Your 9:45 bedtime aligns with the new 8:45 p.m. equivalent. But you might feel like you're going to sleep too early and like you're waking up too early. Use the morning light strategy to keep a regular routine. Okay. That might work. That just might work. So I'm thinking about it right now. That might work. Keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to after the change. After the change has taken place, stick to a new schedule. For example, 9:45 p.m. as your sleep time and 5:45 a.m. or whatever your target is to wake up. If you feel tired, take a short nap, and I do mean short, 20 to 30 minutes tops, no more. Early in the afternoon, not late in the evening. But you have to avoid, you really do. You have to avoid those long naps, or as I just said, those late naps that happen in the evening going into nighttime that delay your sleep time. And that can delay your sleep time, believe it or not. Monitor your mood and energy and adjust your meals and light exposure if needed. It's all up on what you need, your preferences of what you need. But let's just say, for example, by day 4 to 7, if you have to give a rough estimate of which day you're going to use. For example, your system should be closer to aligned by then. Continue your consistent routine. If you're still feeling off, review your sleep hygiene and light exposure. And of course, you can tailor these times for what works best for you, depending on your typical schedule. Whether you have kids, you work an untraditional shift, or even if you work a traditional shift, etc. Now, let's move on to 5. Here are some tips that I personally can share with you. And I've done them. Some of them work. Some of them I'm still kind of tweaking that kind of help me. But here's just kind of an idea. Wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Now, I must admit, for me personally, weekends for most of us, including myself, are sleep-in days. So I don't typically wake up at the same time every weekend, though there are some weekends where I do wake up early depending on what I have going on that day. Next up, get morning sunlight ASAP. When I wake up, short of it being a cloudy day, I wake up and there is sunlight kind of beaming through my window. And my window shades are usually closed, but even still. And when I open my door, because of the way my house is made, we have skylights in the roof of our living room. So the sunlight beams in. So it's no way for me to personally avoid it. So get your sunlight. All right, next up, dim your lights and screens at night. Again, I'm working on it. I hope you're working on it too, but try not to use your phones 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed, and put it on the charger on do not disturb or sleep mode or whatever you need that's going to allow you to get the best night's sleep. All right. That goes for your television too. Avoid caffeine after 2 to 3 p.m. Yeah, I wouldn't do that to myself. I don't really drink caffeine like that much anyway, but even if I did, I would cut off then too, because that is kind of late in the day, and you're getting closer to the time that you would kind of wind down and relax if you work, especially if you work a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 6 or something like that. Move your bedtime earlier gradually if possible. Remember, try to stay within the parameters of when you normally go to bed, and move it back a little bit when you're trying to readjust your body. Be consistent with your meals, activities, and habits. Monitor your mood, including paying attention to fatigue, irritability, and low motivation, and treat it as more than just being tired. Also, give yourself 5 to 7 days to fully adjust, and treat those first few days as transition days. Don't think this has to happen overnight. I mean, come on. I know for myself, even I was thinking, okay, how bad is this going to be? Am I going to potentially not sleep? And it just depends on your situation and what you have going on, and if you follow a certain routine or regimen. So just keep that in mind. That's what, even when I was talking with my own doctor, keeping a consistent schedule and not allowing your phone or your television or anything to distract you when you're trying to go to sleep. So yeah, just keep those things in mind. Now, as we wrap up, here's something to think about that I think is a takeaway from this conversation. The end of daylight saving time might seem like gaining an hour, more of like a gaining an hour event. But for many people, the effect goes deeper because our internal clocks, our hormones, our light exposure, and our routines are all affected. If you put in a little prep ahead of time, stick to good habits, and lean into the natural rhythms of light and dark, you'll minimize the disruptions, sleep better, feel better, be more alert, and keep your mood steady. Now, I thought about this when I was planning this show ahead of time, and it's something that I think you should definitely think about as we get ready to end the show. I'll leave you with this as a final thought. If you view this time change as not just as a burden, but an invitation to honor your body, your rhythm, and the gift of rest, which is hard for all of us, but we all need to rest. It becomes an opportunity rather than just a hassle. I'll repeat it again. If you view this time change not as a burden, but an invitation to honor your body, your rhythm, and the gift of rest, it becomes an opportunity rather than just a hassle. Keep that in mind. And with that, that's today's show. Thanks for listening to Andre the Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, like it, subscribe to us on the Alive Podcast Network, and drop a review. I'd love to hear how the change is affecting you, so please leave a comment. And as always, thanks again for being with us. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time.